Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to be doing first impression for two fragrances from Akro. That's Akro Awake and Akro Haze, so stay tuned for that. If you like first impressions, top 10 lists, fragrance reviews, and cologne comparisons, hit that subscribe button for more great content. So Akro is a brand that I believe the perfumer is Olivier Cresp. He's done a lot of really good fragrances. I think he did Sedley, which I really enjoy. He's done some other ones, and I did try from Akro Malt, which I actually really enjoy. Does smell a little bit like a really nice woody Scotch whiskey. So I did decide to try two more. Now I love coffee fragrances, so I got Akro Awake and then Akro Haze, which I do believe is supposed to smell a little bit like pot. Don't know what to expect from that one, so I'm going to try it first. Akro Awake is kind of one that I've been looking forward to. Going to leave it for second. Hopefully, hopefully there'll be some room for it to surprise me. But let's get into it. So, with Haze, it doesn't actually, to me, smells maybe very lightly like kind of a skunky marijuana, but not really. There is this really deep, somewhat dark resinous greenness in there. Something in this is giving me a little bit of a mint vibe, to believe it or not. Very light mintiness. But it does remind me of a really dark green, resinous, very piney, woody kind of fragrance. To me, this doesn't smell like marijuana in the sense of, if I think about something that smells really skunky, I think of like Music Festival by Martin Margiela. I know Hindu Kush is supposed to smell really skunky, but I haven't actually smelled that, man, Sarah. I keep trying or thinking about it, but it doesn't actually sound like something that overly appeals to me, but maybe I'll try it and check it out at some point in time. There's something of very slight sweetness there, underneath all that sort of really dense greenness. And in some sense, it reminds me a little bit of like Evergreen Dream by Gallagher, which was vaulted. It's not nearly as intensely resinous, but it does have a similar kind of dark green vibe. That's actually one of the things I really liked about that fragrance, is it was very dark and resinous, even if I found the opening to be quite challenging. This one doesn't feel as intense or as challenging. There's something about it that does make it a little bit more appealing. I think this is much easier to wear, even though it is still a dark and green fragrance. It doesn't come across like you've just smoked a joint or anything like that. It doesn't smell like skunk cabbage or whatever. So it doesn't really give to me that impression. It just has a very nice masculine feel to it. I would say, I don't often smell fragrances as masculine or feminine, but some fragrances do come across that way to me. Most fragrances to me are unisex. Occasionally I do get a feeling of something a little bit more masculine or a little bit more feminine. This one is coming across a little bit more masculine to me. It is a little bit more dark, a little bit more brooding, if you want to think about it that way. And a little bit more green and resinous. And I think maybe those are things that to me I associate more with masculine fragrances. But in either case, nice surprise. Not what I was expecting, but a very enjoyable first impression. Did like that one. I'm going to come back to it in a bit, but I do want to go into Akro Awake. This is the one I was looking forward to, so unfortunately that means it'll probably disappoint me. Hopefully it does not. I love coffee fragrances. I do find a lot of fragrances that, advertise themselves as being coffee fragrances aren't that coffee dominant. That's one reason why I like Follow a lot by Kerosene, because it is a very dominant coffee fragrance. So let's see what this one is all about. Okay, very pleasantly surprised with that one. That exceeded my expectations on first sniff. There's a little bit of sweetness. Very rich coffee. Very rich coffee. It does have this very fresh brewed, maybe a Colombian coffee kind of vibe to it. I get a very a subtle hint of something nutty. It's not overly dark. Actually, I would say it's more like coffee with cream in it, although it doesn't come across creamy. It's definitely not like a really rich, dark coffee fragrance. It does have a bit of a texture, which gives it a little bit of like a coffee grounds kind of vibe. But it definitely reminds me of very rich, luxurious coffee. Lighter, as I mentioned, a little bit sweet. That initial touch of nuttiness definitely is disappearing, but it does still have a very rich coffee fragrance. And I think the coffee grind aspect of it is starting to come out a little bit more. But this is a really nice, definitely coffee dominant fragrance. I will come back to this one in a second. I want to go back to Haze, see what it's done, think about it for a little bit, and come back to Awake, see if it's developed or changed at all. So Haze, it definitely still has that greenness. It's not quite as thick, not quite as resinous, but it does have that greenness. There is still something in there that has a slightly mentholated vibe to it. It's not overly strong, but it is just a hint of that along with this dark green vibe. Still a slight sweetness, so it hasn't changed too much. This is a really nice, darker fragrance. I would like to, or I would consider this one to be more of a fall, possibly also winter fragrance. It is very thick and very dark. Potentially on the right day in spring, I could see it working. But it is definitely something that to me could also even go across with like dressed up formally to a nice formal event. The reason being is to me it comes across a little bit dark, mysterious, a little bit more masculine, and that to me works with a suit and tie in my personal opinion. I mean, it does seem like something that's best suited for that, but of course this could be, it could be a daily wear, but definitely works really well in that kind of James Bond suit kind of style. Now I'm going to go back to Awake, and I will say that Awake is really strong because it is absolutely overpowering Haze here. I'm getting whiffs of it just moving my hands around. But it does have a nice sort of coffee vibe. That initial sort of slight sweetness, I don't really get that anymore. Comes across very rich, very straight up coffee smell. This isn't like a mocha. It's just a very straight up coffee smell. Does have a little bit of that grindy feeling to it. There is a slight nutty sweetness, very slight in the background, which still, to me, it's a very coffee dominant fragrance. So that's really, really nice about this fragrance. For this one, definitely fall, winter. Maybe in the evening on spring or summer, I don't know. Definitely a little bit more casual fragrance, I think. I always think of coffee fragrances as more easy kind of daily wears. I actually don't mind wearing them to the office even. Although that could be thought of as a little bit more formal. I do find that if it's a really nice coffee fragrance like Follow, it is something that people enjoy smelling. I don't like coffee, but I love the smell of coffee. And I think a lot of people are that way, even if they don't enjoy drinking coffee. But, a lot of people love coffee. So it is a pleasing fragrance. And to me, very sort of crisp, almost like that sweetness has a little bit of a biscuity vibe to it, which makes it a little bit more of like a mixture between a drink, food kind of gourmand category. Very nicely done. Not disappointed at all. I think I'm gonna have to do a comparison of Akro Awake versus Follow, see which is the champion for coffee fragrances. I know some people have said that this is the best coffee fragrance. I'd have to see how it plays out, but it is giving me this really nice gourmandy vibe underneath that coffee, so I think it's got a lot of character to it, even though it does maintain itself as a coffee-dominant fragrance. But like I said, a little bit more of a casual wear, easy wear, daily wear. I could wear this every day, but I don't know if it would be a signature scent, but it is a fairly nice casual to semi-formal fragrance in my opinion. Fall, winter, it'll be best. It is actually projecting quite strongly, so definitely will work winter as well. But anyways, that's it. I'm going to cut the video there. Both very good. Hard to actually say which one I would pick out of these two. So far, every Akro fragrance I've tried has been an absolute win in my opinion, or at least for me personally. Loved Malt, one of my favorite boozy fragrances. Haze, very nice. And Akro Awake, also really, really nice. So I definitely think it's a brand worth checking out. Of course, always sample first, but really, really nice releases so far. Very enjoyable. And I love Sedley, so I'm not too surprised at all, because obviously Cresp is a master perfumer. Does very, very good work. So that's really nice. Anyways, if you have any suggestions for dark resinous green fragrances, or fragrances that are maybe smell like marijuana, or other coffee-based fragrances that I haven't tried or haven't talked about on this channel, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.